here I am. It was a headache getting through, but there's nobody here. There's nobody here. Just the occasional person walking by. All the seats are empty. I'm going to meet my friend, David, who's supposed to be down here in this general area. So this is the first video, the first little video clip of the exciting adventure, which is launching today. Okie dokie. That's it for now. This is David texting on his phone. Hello, David. You just made your way into my video. What did you? So my hope for an empty flight isn't looking very promising right now. Lots of people suddenly at my gate. How did that happen? Where did they all come from? So there we are, London Heathrow Airport, also looking a little empty, but that's a bit deceiving. There's actually a lot going on. I just found a corner off by myself where I could hopefully take off my mask and not get harassed. So here I am in Heathrow. Cool. I haven't been in Heathrow since, I don't know, the 70s, I think. Wow, it's nuts. So I'm here. I made it okay. Uneventful flight. I mean, this, a little turbulence here and there, but overall not bad at all. So for those who are interested, by the way, it was I would say like maybe 40% capacity, something like that. So so there was a lot of room for a lot of people to stretch out. Like in front of me, the person in front of me had like a row of 3 empty seats to stretch out on. That was great, and the person behind me also had a row of 3 empty seats to stretch out on. That was great. And the person beside me too also had a row of 3 empty seats to stretch out on. So great, right? I of course had some woman sitting. Everyone else had the row of 3 empty seats, but I had some woman sitting here by the window. And frankly, she was as unhappy to see me as I was to see her. I could tell when I came in. She sort of, because by the way, I was one of the last people on the plane, and I will come to why that was in a moment. But I went then and came in the last minute. I'm sure that she thought she had the row of 3, and she was not happy with me. So we never really hit it off. Whatever. But I guess the other thing was that this was going to be an exciting flight because I was going to sleep. Like I've never slept on a plane ever before, and this time was going to be different. My faithful daughter went to great lengths to ensure that I would sleep on this flight. So we got me one of these inflatable neck cushion things. Which was super comfortable. It was great. It did kind of lose air. I think I haven't quite figured out how to work it properly. I can't seem to close it properly. It keeps losing air. But it was really comfortable. It was great. And she got me a complete sort of blackout face mask. That was great. Total dark. It was great. She gave me some drug to take. I can't. Something that starts with an M. I was melanin or melatonin, morphine, I don't know what it was. Some drug starts with an M that's supposed to help you sleep anyways, and I took that. I didn't have ear plugs, but I did have earbuds, and I plugged them into the plane's entertainment system, and I was listening to something called classical sounds for bedtime or something. I don't. So I was pretty set up with the whole sleeping thing. It was looking pretty good, but I didn't actually get to sleep. I was super relaxed, and I think it may have helped because I feel okay now. But didn't help with the sleeping thing at all. So Oh, and I should say, by the way, it was close. I came close, by the way. I don't want to make it sound like it was a totally lost cause. Like, there's that moment, like I'm sure you know that moment where you're just on the edge of sort of falling asleep, and you can just feel like you're just about to go over the edge into sleep. And I was right there. I was right on the edge, just ready to fall asleep. And then I felt this poke in my left shoulder. The woman by the window wanted to get out and use the washroom. So I missed that opportunity to go to sleep. And of course, so I had to get up and let her out. And of course, there was no point trying to go back to sleep before she came back, right? Because she was just going to need me to get up again. And so I waited for her, and she was gone a long time. I don't know what she was doing, but whatever. All was said and done, that window of opportunity kind of passed. So no sleeping on the plane. So, but it was close. So, it was so close. But that's not what I was making this video about. I wanted to, this little video clip is actually to give a moment of brief amusement to all those people whom I told the story in the days, weeks perhaps, before I left. I was telling people how, you look at all these other countries and they got all this long, crazy list of qualifications to get in, and I'm going to Albania, and Albania only has one sentence that says no restrictions for entry or something like that, right? So I got a lot of good laughs out of that. Well, between the time that I had looked at the website last and the time I was departing yesterday, somehow, somewhere, at some point during that time, Albania instituted a restriction. You needed a PCR test within 72 hours of your arrival time. Right? Now, as it happened, of course, I had a PCR test. I just didn't get it in anticipation of needing it for Albania. So it got a little hairy, actually. So I'm arriving in Albania, so this would be like Wednesday evening, 7:10 local time, or 7:30, I don't remember local time. I'll be arriving in Albania, but I had the test at 1 o'clock Vancouver time on Sunday. So if you do the math there, you can see that's getting a little tricky, right? But here was the interesting thing of all this. All the Air Canada people, so both the people that booked me in at the main checkout at the front, where you check your bag, and also the people at the gate check-in, had to, just go through hoops, had to leap through hoops trying to figure all this out, because it was a real problem, as it turned out. And the funny thing is, I've come to the conclusion that Air Canada must not fly to Albania. Because at both places, both at the front checkout and at the gate checkout, in both those places, I had two people in each of those places working on my complicated case, right? And it didn't seem that any of the four of them had ever even heard of Tirana. They'd never heard of it. And I wasn't entirely convinced that they even really believed Albania was a country. It was very strange. And they had this app on their phones, which apparently, I guess this sort of thing must come up a lot now. And so they have some app on their phone that apparently does all this stuff, figures it all out for them really easily. But Albania wasn't even on their app. So they had no idea. So in both cases, they're scribbling on pieces of paper and using calculators and trying to figure out, trying to calculate the total number of flights and deduct the time difference and then add the time from the first departure to when I actually took the test. And it was just always so complicated. Man, I kind of felt sorry for them. But in the end, it turned out that from the time I took my test into my scheduled arrival would be 69 hours. So I made it just under the 72-hour limit with a few hours to spare. So that all turned out well in the long run. So, all's well that ends well. So we'll see what happens. The adventure is just beginning. Traveling in time of COVID. It's fun. All right, well, I guess that's all for now from Heathrow, and maybe I'll catch up with you in Munich, except I don't have a lot of time in Munich, so I probably can't do what I'm doing now. All right, well, talk to you later. Over and out. Arriving in Tirana. Good morning. Good morning from Albania. I have no idea what time it is anywhere else, but it's morning, early morning in Albania. I think it's like 4:30 in the morning or something. So I made it. It got a little exciting there. I'll come back. I'll circle back around to that. But yeah, first impressions. Wow, really something. And there's like, man, there's a feeling that I haven't felt in a long time, and it just came back so strong. That feeling when you're suddenly in a new city, like I arrive at the airport in a new city, in a new country, a place, a new culture you haven't been to, and just that ride in. There's like a magical little space, like you've arrived at the airport and you're riding into the city, and you don't know really what's going to happen when you get there, but you're in this little magical place when you're on the bus riding in, sort of seeing this new place. And it's a pretty amazing feeling. And I forgot what that feeling was even like. I guess that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, to sort of remember that. I don't know, but it's pretty cool. And Tirana seems like an amazing city. I've heard people refer to it as like the hidden gem of Europe and this sort of thing, and best kept secret of Europe. And man, I mean, I didn't see much. I just like rode in on a bus and then rode through the city on a taxi, basically, and stood around in the street corner for a bit talking to a taxi driver about my weird situation. Not much more than that, but I mean, it looks like an amazing city. And the area I'm in, I knew was kind of hipster, I guess, I don't know, kind of happening. And it really is happening. So I'm definitely going to at some point take you out for a tour of the neighborhood, and maybe both a daytime tour and a nighttime tour. But yeah, it's pretty interesting seeming. So I'm looking forward to have an opportunity to explore it all. So yeah, it's great. On my way in. So when I last left any kind of message here. That's what I think of it, as recording these videos, is leaving messages for those of you who are watching this. I was at Heathrow, and things seemed to be under control. But then it got a little weird. I mean, not really. I mean, it's one of those situations where, and that's one of the nice things about traveling like this, is that it sort of forces me to sort of control my wild imagination, sort of worrying about worst case scenarios. Because I mean, if they're going to happen, they're going to happen, right? That is kind of the way I see it. But when I'm caught up in the moment, sometimes I don't have that kind of perspective on it. So some of you may know that I was going from Heathrow to Munich International, and there I was catching a connecting flight to come on to Tirana. But there was only a 50-minute break between those two flights, and I was a little worried about that. And I called Lufthansa, and they said, yeah, it's we anything less than 45 minutes we won't guarantee for you, but over 45 we will. So I was 50, so in theory everything's supposed to be okay. But the plane left late. I mean, all the planes late. So I took 3 flights yesterday, and they all left late. Obviously, this COVID stuff is just like crazily complicated things. And also again at Heathrow, I got pulled over again to check my my whole PCR status for going into Albania. Was I going to be able to make it in time, for my 72-hour time limit? But they weren't quite as anal or disorganized as the people there in Canada, but they did still pull me over to check on this and make sure that it was really going to work. Okay, that seemed cool. So I get on the plane, but then again, like I said, the plane left like half an hour late, right? And I said I only had 15-minute break, right? So then my mind starts racing, like, oh my God, what if I miss this flight, right? Because then the problem becomes the PCR test, right? Because it's not like there's another flight an hour later going to Tirana. They don't fly that often to Tirana. It's not weirdly, from what I've seen, it's not that popular a spot. So I start thinking, well, if I ended up missing my flight, then
I probably won't, at the best, I probably could get another flight tomorrow, and then my PCR test will have expired. So then I'll have, wasted the money for the Airbnb I booked in Tirana. I'll have to pay for some expensive German hotel. I'll have to get a new PCR test, and I have to wait like 24 hours, to get the results probably. So I'll be, a couple days in some expensive hotel by the airport in Munich. And this is not a good way to get get my whole thing here started. This doesn't sound good at all. So I felt a little stressed about it. So I went and talked to the flight attendants. And by the way, the flight attendants on Lufthansa are so great. On both those last two flights I took were Lufthansa, and man, I don't know what it is. The flight attendants in Air Canada are just so. Oh, they're like bitter people. I don't know. Do they hire them on the basis of their bitterness? They've got to meet a bitterness quota to get hired. I don't know. It's so bizarre. And on both the Lufthansa flights, the flight attendants were great. I mean, really funny and friendly, and just made it a pleasure to be on the plane. Actually, it made it fun to be on the plane because they were so nice. But anyway, so I go to talk to these two. And I guess I'm throwing them a curve or something they didn't really know. They actually really tried to help me, actually. They made some calls from the air to find out. But they were saying, like, so I was really concerned because when I came through into Heathrow, I had to go through security again, which I don't understand. Like, if I went through security in Vancouver, and I'm not like entering the UK, so I'm just switching from one gate to another, basically. Why do I have to go through security again? It's like they don't trust the Vancouver security or something. And that may be why they do this sort of thing. I don't know. But it just seems weird to me. It seems like it should be like a giant bubble. Once you're inside the bubble, then anywhere you go, you should have, dealt with security. But because I did that with Heathrow, I was worried I'm going to have to do that again at Munich. So I asked them, and they say, yeah, you will. And then one of them starts saying, actually, I think you're going to have to go through customs control because now you're entering the EU. And I'm like, oh my God, the plane's half an hour late. I only had 50 minutes. Now I'm assuming the next one's going to be late too, but how late? And if I have to do all this, is there any chance I'm going to actually make it? So I'm not really stressed about all this, oh my God, which I shouldn't be. Right, I shouldn't be. I mean, if I ended up spending, 2 weeks in some hotel by the airport in Munich, that would have been, a new adventure, right? And I would have made the best of it. But at the time, I just didn't want to. I wanted to, I wanted it to work out. I wanted to arrive in Tirana in Albania, right? So I was really stressed. So I get to the airport and I'm like running through, and maybe I'm not like knocking people over. It's not that bad, but it's like getting close to that. Racing through where I got to get, and this and I'm following the gate. And unfortunately, when I got booked in at Air Canada, the first flight, they gave me all three of my boarding passes for all flights, and on that one, not for the one at Heathrow, for the one from Munich, they actually had the gate on it, so I knew where I was going. Well, I mean, I was hoping I knew where I was going. Of course, it could be wrong, right? But so I'm racing around, and it's literally the way opposite end of the terminal, but that's all it is. Right? I get there and I'm just waiting, but I have to, where's the security? Where's the border control? Where's the way I have to go? None of that was true. They had all that wrong. It was all wrong. Basically, I just, had to walk from one gate to the other. And I probably could have walked. It would have been maybe been a little tight if I walked because it was a long distance. But I just got to the gate and there was no security, there was no border control, there was nothing. Just kind of waiting. They were they were waiting for me. So got on the plane. It was funny too. And two other funny observations occur to me as I think about all this. So one is that even though both flights were Lufthansa, they were very different. And I don't know if this is a reflection of the other countries involved or not. But when I was flying from London to Munich, they were very, very hardcore on, make sure you're wearing your mask, make sure you're wearing your mask properly. This had a very, very strict Germanic thing seemed to be going on here. It was quite, intense. But then the next Lufthansa flight, going from Munich to Tirana, none of that. They didn't say any of that. There was no announcement about that. It was nothing, and a bunch of people on the plane weren't wearing masks. I don't know. It was so weird. It's now we were getting into the Albanian vibe. So So I thought that was a bit funny. Oh, and by the way, on the plane, on the last flight, I finally got 3 seats to myself. Finally. So cool. Because I do kind of I like sitting by the window, but I always take an aisle seat. Because I feel bad. I don't want to disturb people when I'm getting up, going to the washroom or whatever, right? You know. But when you got all 3 seats, you got both an aisle seat and a window seat. You got a window seat that is an aisle seat. So it's, you know, the best of both worlds. So that's pretty good. And that was nice. That flight was so relaxing once I was on it, right? And I wasn't even sure if my baggage was going to make it. You know, like I did check bag, and I thought, this is so fast, they're probably going to get my suitcase on in time. I thought, you know, and I didn't even care. I thought, you know, I'll get the suitcase eventually. I don't care. I just want to be there. I don't want to go through this whole, you know, missing my COVID window sort of thing, right? So, and I just thought, you know, the first flight, you know, from the first Lufthansa flight, I was so stressed. And the second one, I was so relaxed and so happy and so peaceful. And I knew that my bag probably wasn't going to be there, but I didn't even care. I was just really happy to be on the flight and knowing that I was going to arrive in Albania. So it ended up very nicely. And you know what? When I got there, my bag was there. In fact, my bag was one of the first ones to come out along the carousel. So it was great, and I had been very good. Oh, and by the way, so when I come to border control at Albania, and they don't even ask to see my PCR. In fact, all this stress in Vancouver and in Heathrow about my PCR test. When I got there, they didn't even want to see it. They didn't care, right? And the other thing I'd heard about Albania is you have to have a return ticket somewhere. You know, they won't let you. They didn't ask for anything. I came in, gave the guy my passport, kind of looked me up and down, looked at my passport, nodded. I think he typed something. I don't. They didn't give a stamp. I didn't get a stamp, so I guess it's all computerized now, right? He typed something, hands me my passport. That's it. Continue. That was it. So it was hilarious. All the stress of these other airports about this, and when I actually got to Albania, they didn't care at all. It's so bizarre. That's so crazy. What was it? There was something else I was going to say. I can't remember. I lost my train of thought because, you know, I've slept like 4 hours in the last 30 hours or something. Anyways, so I think that's it. That's the catch up for now. So I'm gonna, you know, this place. Oh yeah. I've been, you know, some of you knew, some of you don't know. Whoever's watching this, I've been a little stressed about my my Airbnb arrangement. The first time in my life I ever actually booked an Airbnb. And they, you know, they weren't giving me the address. They're telling me to go to this place, and it sounded all kind of dicey. I don't know, but the guy was a super host, you know, for Airbnb. So I figured probably, you know, it was going to be okay, and it was fine. And when I got here, I realized, you know, why I didn't give me an address, because it is sort of a weird little tucked away spot. You'd never find it, right? You'd never find it. But like I say, you know, a great neighborhood, and the guy, you know, the host was super nice, and the apartment is just, I mean, it's small, but it's perfect, right, for what I want, and the bed is so comfortable, and you know, so like all the stress, none of it amounted to anything. Everything worked out perfectly in the end, and so that's, you know, a life lesson. So we'll see if I can take that life lesson forward as I continue on with these adventures, wherever they lead. All right, I think that's good for now. So catch up with you later. Like I said, the next couple days I'm going to do a video. I'm going to do a little apartment tour, so you can see that, and we'll try and do both a day and nighttime tour of the neighborhood, because it's kind of interesting neighborhood, I think. All right.